My name is Scott Caufield. Some of you guys know me. We've worked with some of you for a while. Based in the Dallas office for Tripadvisor, and that is also known as the upstairs of my home. It was very fortuitous that they located the Dallas office up there, and I'm also very glad they didn't hire the other guy. That would have been a very awkward commute. Today we're going to look at the roles of desktop and mobile in the three stages of travel: planning and booking, during your trip, and then post-trip. You get to see where the opportunities are for destinations to influence travelers in all stages, even post-trip, even after they've made the trip. So, moving on here. I have my hands full of a lot of fun things here. We live in a world dominated by mobile devices. As you see, as we'll look at and as we'll see here, the desktop is not going away, but its role is less and less as mobile becomes more and more dominant. It's not just used on the go anymore. Most people think of mobile as, what you're looking at while you're traveling, while you're out and about. But stop and think about how many times you've been sitting on the couch watching your favorite TV show and you pull up IMDb to see where that guest star was. Where did you see him before? What movie was that in? And I'm sure there's dozens of other examples you can utilize for that as well. So, the mobile device really is becoming the primary device for a lot of travelers. Just real quick, can everybody hear me in the back? Raise your hand and look confused if you can't. Good, okay. I will try to get a little closer to the microphone. Hey. So there's an Ad Age report earlier this year that basically stated, ad spend for mobile is going to double desktop by 2017. This signals a continued shift in where consumers, especially travelers, will be consuming online content on their mobile devices more and more. So where the ad dollars go is usually where the consumer eyeballs are going. And certainly our site reflects that. As of July 2015, our ComScore numbers show that mobile has officially taken a larger share than desktop on our site. And for those of you in the back, you're probably cussing me right now, but we're those big green bars there at the top. So I apologize for that. One of my colleagues refers to this as Muppet puke. I would say Kermit had a bad night. So we're also going to look at what we call Tripadvisor the traveler life cycle. It's all the different stages of travel from planning to in market and afterwards. And we're going to kind of break it down that way. We're going to come back to this and kind of look at it piece by piece throughout the process. And you'll see it is in fact very cyclical. And we'll also be looking at a lot of research from Tripadvisor. Tripadvisor is a twice annual survey that we perform with 40 to 50,000 users of our site, as well as hoteliers and attraction owners, to get a feel for what's going on in the travel sector. And more than that, really to conduct probably what is the largest travel research project every year to give you a feel for what the trends are with different types of travelers, with different types of hotels, and really get the idea of the motivations behind travelers' vacation choices and the emotional differences at various stages of a vacation and at post-trip. And there's the link to it there. That's all free to look at. If you don't look at the trip barometer data, I would strongly recommend doing so. It's free, it's there for you to use. So by all means, use it, reference it. There's a lot of data in there. There's even some screenshots and some summaries and some executive overviews that you can look at as well. Definitely use this though. It's great research and it's there for the taking. One of the things that we've identified in our 2015 Trip Barometer study was what we call the connected traveler. Connected traveler is a subset of travelers who have used their smartphones to plan or book travel. And clearly, as you all see day in and day out, there's more and more of this going on. There's more and more of these connected travelers. And we're going to go back to these folks periodically throughout our time together today just to take a look and see what our research has shown that the Connected Traveler does at different stages along the way. So that way you kind of get that mobile versus desktop feel. So first we're going to take a look at the planning and booking stage. We'll spend most of our time here since many DMOs, that's really what you are, really what you're looking for the most is how to influence people to come, what people are thinking when they're planning and researching and then eventually booking too. So, most travelers that we see on our site start planning trips about 3 to 4 months prior to travel and start booking about 1 to 2 months before they go. We have a longer than average path to purchase, which is good because that allows you a lot more opportunity to influence the decision. The majority of travelers use Tripadvisor as a source of inspiration for vacations. It's the most influential source, closely followed by word of mouth. And again, this is Trip Barometer research that was conducted on our site. Okay, yeah, the question up here was how long does it take to typically plan a trip according to our research on our site? It's about 3 to 4 months from the time that planning and research starts to the time that they're actually booked and in market. That's an approximate average. So we're going to focus on the pre-trip phase. And we break that down pretty specifically just because we do see so much activity from our members and our users in the pre-trip phase. But you'll also see too that during the trip and post-trip, there's a lot of different activities and things that you can identify and spot that you can take back to some of your partners when you get back to the office to share with them some different opportunities that they have to influence and gain exposure and to also capture more money and get more people in town and spending money while they're there. And what this is a result of a ComScore study, and this kind of speaks to what we were talking about earlier about the research phase of the average Tripadvisor user as compared to other travelers. ComScore did a path to purchase study, and they pulled a panel of their users who were all confirmed travel transactors. So these are all people who purchase travel online. It wasn't a pool of our users. Clearly, our users are going to be very, they're going to skew towards being Tripadvisor users. These were general travel purchasers in a 6-month period last year. And as you see, and this is the reason I put this up here, so you can really see with some hard stats, the amount of time our users spend, the number of page views that they look at, the number of times they visit the site, and then the days. That goes to that, that 3 to 4 month window there. Again, all gives you a great opportunity to really speak to it, and for your partners in town to have a voice and put out good content on their listings, which are free. So that our users will hopefully want to come to town and spend a lot of money with you. Hello. Oh, that looks better. What this is here is this is a 2013 to 2014 comparison of devices used during the trip planning stages, and this is all specific to pre-trip. And what you see is, the orange bar here on the far right is showing how smartphones are outpacing year-over-year growth with the booking, shopping, and destination selection stages, which are all very important to probably most anyone in here. And this is some Focusrite research that shows between 2012 and 2016, there's about a 400% growth expected in gross bookings via mobile in the U.S. And if you look at that bar there on the there on the right, 5,700% increase in China. We're not going to really talk a whole lot on China. This is definitely an interesting stat to say the least, though. So what do these connected travelers, what amenities do they look for? What do they value the most compared to just general travelers? Why does that keep happening? Okay. Power adapters to charge their devices. This is a real stat. This is, it kind of sounds like, yeah, thanks, obvious. But This is a real stat. This is real data, and this is one of their biggest requests is that they want, when they're staying at when they're staying somewhere or they're visiting somewhere, the ability to charge their devices and to have the proper adapters. And more importantly, and this is again some feedback you can take back to some of your partners. They're looking for a mobile booking app and mobile check-in capabilities. And this isn't just on the Tripadvisor site, in spite of the screenshot there. This is specific to any travel property, any destination, attraction, restaurant, etc. They want the connected travelers, this very lucrative group, they want the ability to have an app and to be able to check in via their mobile device. And then the connected traveler, to speak what I mentioned earlier about how desktop is not going away. They use, their laptops still as the most common method for booking at about 55%, but 45% is coming via mobile. This is some more research we've done on the connected traveler. This connected traveler report for just for your own use. This is also available on our site. I would strongly recommend checking that out. Take a look at some of the stats. It's very digestible and it gives you a great bit of insight, more so than what I really have the time to get into here today, into this very topic of mobile versus desktop usage in different stages of travel. But what the connected travelers find very important when they're booking on, on any site, but is first and foremost Tripadvisor reviews. And that, not just Tripadvisor reviews, but review content in general. That user-generated content is very valuable to the connected traveler. Recommendations from friends. Word of mouth is always a very valuable tool, especially so with the connected travelers. Amenities and promotions and discounts, but as you'll see here, it's very interesting. They're not as important as as good experiences from other people. Not nearly as important by contrast. Beep. I like that. So this reminds me of elementary school. I'm probably dating myself here, but I like this. It's like, yeah. Anyway, during the trip, the traveler life cycle, what we find is, based on our research, that when they're actively on vacation, they take a look at restaurants, attractions, tours, things to do. It's probably no surprise to any of you that the people who are looking at our mobile site and, frankly, any other mobile travel site while they're in town, they're not looking at hotels as much. They're not looking at accommodations as much because they probably have somewhere they're staying. Go ahead. And here's just some quick rundown of what the connected travelers are engaging with while they're on their trip compared to just global travelers. And for the purposes of this, global traveler is just basically any other traveler, that's general population. While they're in town, they're looking at directions and maps 81% of the time compared to about 2/3 of the time for general travel. Go ahead. They're looking for restaurants about 3/4 of the time. Go ahead. Activities. And they're reading reviews. Good. And further research on our site, further research from Focusrite shows that more than 80% of the people on our site feel more comfortable and feel more like they're making the right choice in their bookings and their destination choices based on the reviews on our site. And this can really be translated to any other review site. So this is less a plug for Tripadvisor and more just the guy from Tripadvisor saying, I know what I know from my site, but this probably translates over to every other review site too. Go ahead. Now we're going to look post-trip. And in the post-trip portion of it, they're already thinking about their next trip. And that's one of the real, one of the nuggets I really hope you walk away from this with today is that when we have studied the psychology of the traveler in our trip barometer study from 2014, we found that 2/3 of the people who are researching, who are coming back from their trip, they're already thinking about their next trip. So there's a great window of opportunity to reach people even after they've visited, after they've spent their money, to really get a stake in that next year visit. Go ahead. And this is some further data, some research from from our Trip Barometer Psychology of Travel report from last year, and it speaks to the cultural and emotional enrichment. And when they come back, when travelers come back, when our users come back from a trip, they learn to be more tolerant. They focus more on their relationships and spirituality, and they explore their own city more. They think, wow, when I was there, I saw this. There's parts of my town I never knew about. Living in Dallas, for example, I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to people who have never been to Dealey Plaza. And for those of you who don't know, Dealey Plaza is where JFK was assassinated. And it's somewhere that everyone who visits goes to. And admittedly, I never even went until I had family that came in from out of town. They said, we gotta go see the grassy knoll. And I'm like, no one was there. Whole other story. It's... And there, that goes back to that 2/3 stat I was talking about just a minute ago. 2/3 of the people who are, when they come back, they're posting to social media, they're telling their friends and family about it. They had such a great time. They feel better about it. I know for us, my family, I have, I'm married, I have 2 kids at home, and when we come back that first week after vacation, once they get over the bummer of realizing they can't just walk out to the beach anymore. And there's actually garbage cans that have to be brought in, and things like that. We just kind of walk on air for about that first week. So there's a great window of influence there to say, don't you want more of this? Don't you want to be to be here again? Go ahead. So we're going to break it down to some key takeaways. On the planning and research stage, mobile and desktop coexist in the path to purchase, but mobile is most dominant. So the takeaway that you could bring back to your destination, back to your city, your region, to your partners from this is make sure you have a cohesive experience across mobile and desktop. Make sure that that when users are looking at both of those sites, they know that they are on, they're at the same place, just looking in 2 different places. Next, while you're in town, review site content, reviews in general are the strongest driver in booking based on our research, and a key factor for decisions made during the trip. So if someone is if they're in a strange town, it makes sense. They're looking, they're pulling out their smartphone, they're looking at the reviews of the different museums in town, and they're saying, okay, this one, a lot of people really loved it, had a lot of really good reviews. They're more likely to go there. So the key takeaway that you can take back to your partners from that is own your listing, whether it's Tripadvisor, whether it's Yelp, whatever it is. Own your listing. Own what you can on that. Respond to the reviews. Respond to the good ones. Respond to the bad ones. But own your listing and use every free tool that's on there. There is a wealth of free stuff you can do with your Tripadvisor listing, and there's a ton of people, when I come to conferences like this, and especially state tourism conferences where there's hoteliers and attractions and things like that, there are so many jaw-dropping moments where they say, you can really do that? How much is it? Free. Just sit down, block out 30 minutes and do it. Lastly, post-trip, engage with travelers. They're already thinking about their next trip. So the key takeaway that you can bring back to your partners from this is engage with the people who visited after the trip. There's a lot of hotel chains that offer, they'll offer Shutterfly photo books, and I know that's kind of a bigger budget sort of thing, but there's other things that you can do. I've heard of some hotels will even send a postcard from their town or from their hotel to people who had stayed with them, which that's a small cost, especially if it's a handwritten note just saying, hey, thanks so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And there's a beautiful picture on the other side. It goes a long way, and it's influencing next year's trip. You're in doing just those simple things and engaging with people after they've been there via mobile, via online. I know this doesn't speak to the mobile versus desktop, but it's important. It's very important. Reach those people. Talk to them. Protect your territory for next year.